So, Woj, I turn to you. The Clippers, they gave up some pretty significant draft capital here in order to acquire James Harden. How has that changed or even raised the stakes for Los Angeles here?
Yeah, it puts the Clippers in a position now where they've really got to make it work with this group. They really only have their 2030 first-round pick to put in any trades, or if they decided after this season to not go forward with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, they would be in a position where they would just be barren of assets. And so I think the pressure now on this organization, giving up so much for James Harden, they don't want him to become a rental player, a one-year player. And it gives some leverage now to Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, in their conversations with the team on new deals. Listen, the Clippers don't just want to hand out blind max offers to players who are in their 30s, who've had an injury history. They're in a position now where financially that second apron, which is really punitive to teams, if the salary, your team payroll goes up into that, it really limits you as an organization about the kind of moves you could make. And both of those players could opt out of their deals at the end of the season. They could go into free agency. And so if you are the Clippers and you gave up all you did for James Harden,
right,
it's got to be because you believe you're going to re-sign him and you're going to keep going with this Kawhi Leonard, Paul George group.
Look, we already talked about the Clippers as a team that their window is now. They need to win. But listening to everything that you've laid out, how can the Clippers achieve what has already been such high stakes for them?
Well, by being healthy. If they're healthy, then that's really been the only thing that has stopped them in the last few years. When you look at their roster, they have depth across the board. They've got shooting. They've got defense. They have so many players. And again, the sneaky thing in this trade is the P.J. Tucker. There's not a person on this panel that's not going to tell you that P.J. Tucker is not going to have a high-level impact on this Clipper roster. So, to me, if they are healthy, then we're able to assess them in the proper way. Same with the Lakers a couple of years ago. If you're not healthy, it's tough to assess them. If they are healthy, ooh, they're going to be an absolute problem.
Right, because, I mean, ideal starting lineup for them. Could it be Harden, George, Kawhi, Tucker, and maybe Zubac? I don't know. Chiney is the expert with how it looks on the court. What do you think is ideal? How are they going to achieve that?
Look, I'm not going to lie. I'm hyped because it's my first breakdown of NBA Countdown season. So let me tell you exactly how they're going to get it done.
Do you
The Clippers point guards, they're going to have to split minutes between Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Now, Russ, he's done all right, averaging 13, 7, and 6, also being the vocal leader of this team. But James Harden, though, he brings something different. The reigning league leader in assists last season. I'll show you exactly what James Harden will bring to this Los Angeles team. So roll me my tape, baby. Let's go. First time. Actually, there will be no tape because I feel like it's very interesting. And I'll just give you the numbers overall. The way that he generates uncontested looks, the way that he's able to really, if you see right there, 350 uncontested looks, that is phenomenal. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, they've only had 133 uncontested looks over the last 3 seasons. That, to me, is the game changer. If James Harden, who led the league in assists last year, is able to bring that version of himself to the Clippers, these guys are going to get better looks, which means they have better odds to be contenders in the West.
So the floor really opens up when James Harden is able to be there. Richard, who's responsible, do you think, for making this new-look Clippers team work?
Okay, let me be very clear. There is all of this talent. We talked about 3 first-ballot Hall of Famers. Paul George is on his way to build that type of resume. There is one person, and I know this is a rough thing to say, but Tyronn Lue is the one person. I've seen him manage personalities like Kyrie, like Shumpert, like LeBron. I've seen him manage all of these big personalities and push it all in the same direction. I think that this Clippers team has the same level of personalities, and it's about management. But T. Lue, as a former player, as a guy that's won championships, as a guy that just understands these things, he will be put in a position to manage that. And I don't think that there's a better coach that understands today's players. Shoot, he played against some of these guys, right? When he was, so to me, he is the guy that you're going to look at. Can you manage it? Can you get them to buy in?
Yeah.
So much is about being like buying in. Same with Chris Paul and Steve Kerr. Can you get him to buy in coming off the bench? If they can get those guys to buy in, but that's on T. Lue.
Heavenly Father, I come to you to ask you for your grace over my brother T. Lue. He doesn't need any more gray hairs, no more stress, And I hope that you protect him throughout this season.
I'm with you.
He need prayer.
They need prayer.
He need prayer.
Amen.
If he's dealing with that many egos, when you talk about Paul George, when you talk about Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and you look at the young guys that are coming in, Terrence Mann, Bones Highlands, sacrificing is going to be the key for this team, right? Everybody's not going to be able to get the number of shots they want. Everybody's not going to be able to have the ball in their hands. Everybody is not going to be able to be in the rotation. So I'm with Richard on this. It's going to be on Ty Lue to impose his will in that locker room, to hold guys accountable, because let's be real, Ty Lue didn't sign a contract extension either. And he's one of the most valuable coaches in this league. So at the end of the day, he could demand that locker room and do what he needs to do to make sure he get those guys' attention.
Ty Lue needs health with this group. He can handle all of that. And I think you've got players at a point in their career where it is about winning for them. And you've seen what Russell Westbrook has done with this group since he's come to the Clippers. He's become the leader of this team. And James Harden has a lot on the line. He wants to be re-signed. If he wants the kind of money in the marketplace that gets him whole from what he didn't get in Philly, the Clippers are the place to get it for him. He's got to show value, and value with this Clippers team is impacting winning, because this group, in its form over these 4 years, hasn't done enough of it.
Absolutely. The Lakers and the Clippers, the second game of our doubleheader tonight. We do not expect James Harden to play in this one, but he is expected to be in the building. You got all day plus. All right, let's go to the other side of this one, though, because, Richard, the Phoenix Suns, how concerned should they be that they played 3 of the first 4 games without Devin Booker and without Bradley Beal for all of them?
Well, first of all, they've been very competitive, so that's one thing. But I will say this, never in my entire basketball career have I ever been stressed after 4 games. And only because you're just not going to be that. It doesn't matter if it's in college, doesn't matter if it's in pros.
Sure.
The first 4 games is like, we're not healthy, we're in every game, we're competing, we let one get away, just a fluke thing that probably happens to every team 2 or 3 times a year. For me, it's about if they can get healthy and when they can get healthy. Right now, every report's coming out as Bradley Beal is just a little banged up, and they're being cautious.
Right.
You want to be more cautious at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, so I understand what they're doing.
I agree with Richard. I am not concerned. They're 15th in offense, which, considering who they're missing, that is not so bad. If you looked at the offensive numbers they put up in the preseason, they were out of this world. Also missing Devin Booker. Did you see him earlier, though, this season? Like, he looked like he was ready. If he was healthy, we'd be talking about, could this be the year he's an MVP, especially with this team winning games? Defensively, this is what will shock you. They're 6th. So as difficult as the way that they lost just last night was, they have put together something semi-decent as a team. And I think KD, I mean, we all expect him to close games, but that's a lot that he's shouldering right now.
4 games in is no big deal. It's just how much does that spiral? And Devin Booker, he joined the broadcast last night. He says he feels like he's pretty close. He has a couple of hurdles left to clear. Bradley Beal, or Brian Windhorst said on NBA Today, maybe he's a little bit farther behind. It's all good unless KD has to continue to carry this load for a sustained amount of time, Perk.
That is true, but also it is some concern there, Malika. And the concern is that the Western Conference is pretty damn good. It's no nights off in the West, and these games mean something. That's why we're witnessing so many competitive games early in the season.
Right.
Like, we're seeing guys go at it like it's the postseason. We just talked about how Steph Curry looked like he's on the mission, like he's playing in the postseason, because people already know when they get to the end, you don't want to be in that play-in tournament. And they think about those early games that you could have, or them, having those regrets about you should have played harder, you should have capitalized on that moment. So the Phoenix Suns getting fully healthy is a must, and I am a little bit concerned.
Well, really quickly, that 29% that Kevin Durant is shooting from 3, that's the indicator that he's missing his boys, because he's not getting those open shots. That's the indicator. So you see the numbers go down. So he can hold down the fort, but they're going to need him.
The Lakers, they're 2-2, even though it's still early. It is LeBron James. It is the Los Angeles Lakers. And so, Perk, I asked you, what are you concerned about with LA?
Well, it's not LeBron, and it's not Anthony Davis, and I'm not here for no AD slander. The man has been balling out of control. So it's Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves. I am him, Austin Reeves, right? He said he gave himself that name last year in the postseason. And I think coming into this season, we all have had high expectations for him. And I know he's young, but he has been playing horrible. so much that even down the stretch, Darvin Ham can't go to him or depend on him. And so in order for the Lakers to get where they need to go, he's going to have to elevate his game on a consistent basis and take some of that pressure off LeBron far as actually being a guy that could be the playmaker in the floor general.
Right, because the Lakers are plus 29 when LeBron is on the court, minus 38 when he is off it, Rich.
Yeah, no, it's tough. And that was one of the things that, my biggest concern is their rotation. Right now, he's got a lot of different options, and that's a great situation, especially where they started off last year. They were looking to see who was going to be the 4th, 5th player on the court. Now you have a lot of options, but Gabe Vincent, he's gotten out the gate slow. When you look at the amount of different lineups used this season to players, look at where the Lakers are. They're at the top of that list, obviously. And some of these other teams, the Jazz, the Bulls, the Raptors, the Suns have a ton of injuries. The Spurs are young. The Heat, we know, the Hawks. So the Lakers are the only team in there, right, that's not dealing with a ton of injuries and that is expected to be a top 3 seed somewhere. So that lets you know that they have a lot of talent, but they're all trying to figure out the best way to put it together. And that's part of the first 10, 15 games. I think Austin Reeves, as much as he did USA basketball, I think going to the conference, he's played more minutes in the last year of his life than he had the last 3 years combined. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a break, but ultimately, how they figure out their lineups, that's going to be key.
But at the end of the day, everything that you two said comes down to the Lakers now being forced to play damage control at the end of games where LeBron James has to go against what the game plan was at the beginning of the season and play more minutes. You don't want a situation where LeBron is forced to close games. You don't want a situation where AD feels like he has to shoulder the load consistently, because that's exactly what got them in trouble for the last few seasons. And so I'm looking at this Lakers team, their issues with the rotations, the issues with the guards playing inconsistently. Reeves, we know what he's capable of, but shooting the ball has not been great. D'Lo, hot and cold, even though we've seen some really good games from him. Vincent, they all talked about, hey, missing some preseason has really affected him. So all of those things at the end of the day put the pressure on LeBron and AD when they had a plan at the jump to say, let's take that pressure off.
Yeah. Because the goal for them is not the regular season. It is making it farther than they did last year, the conference finals and the postseason. That's what this roster was built to do.